Welcome, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. I'm your producer and host of the show, Dr. Lino Martinez. This is your motivational podcast of people's incredible journeys. Oh, yeah, let's do this. Welcome back, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I would love to welcome all the way from Spain, Laura Brody. She's an operations and outreach specialist, a resilience and performance training guide, and an advocate for people with albinism and low vision. She is the founder of Adventures in Albinism and creator of the Teacher's Compass, two mindfulness-based initiatives supporting individuals with albinism, as well as the parents and teachers who guide them. Laura blends education, mindfulness, and positive psychology to support sustainable performance, well-being, and belonging. She believes resilience is not about pushing through, it's about learning to pause, choose, and respond with intention. And in this intention is incredible. Welcome to A Little Less Fear podcast. So happy to finally meet you.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you for the lovely introduction.
Well, thank you for your lovely introduction and your lovely presence. And so for people tuning in for the first time, there might be some questions on what albinism means. And there's more of an outdated term that people have probably heard, albino, that is a derivative of albinism. But now the proper way to say it, more sensitive to this diverse culture, would be a person with albinism. And so a person with albinism is what, Laura? How can you educate us? What is a person? Who is a person with albinism?
So a person with albinism is a person who has a genetic disease that is basically comes from both of your parents. It's a recessive gene. So both parents have to have it, and then they pass that recessive gene on to you. And just because both parents have the recessive gene doesn't necessarily mean that all of their children will have albinism. I have a sister from my mother and father, and she doesn't have albinism. So it's kind of luck of the draw. It's like a 25% chance each time two parents or two carriers of the recessive gene get together and have a baby. So I got lucky, I guess. And basically all it means is that you don't produce melanin, you don't produce the color in your skin. So you have very light hair, very light skin, very light eyes. But I also want to say here that there's such a range of albinism. There are people with albinism that have darker eyes or red hair or darker skin, but then purple eyes. So there are about 9 different types of albinism as well, like genetic strains. And there's ocular albinism, and there's OCA1 and 2 and 3. And I won't go into all the different strains, but I actually just found out in the last month which type I have, because when I was growing up, it wasn't really a thing that people did. Now you can get tested for it. It's a genetic test. They do a blood test. You find out what type you have. And the reason that they want people to get tested now is that certain types of albinism are linked to other types of cancer or other diseases and other things, that if you have a certain type, you might want to be visiting your doctor more often and just monitoring things. So
that makes sense. Absolutely makes
and
sense.
low vision. All people with albinism have different grades or different degrees of low vision.
That's really interesting and fascinating too at the same time. When I was doing some research on this, I didn't know, and I didn't find that there were so many different types of variants of albinism. What I did find was that there were the types that I read about was oculocutaneous albinism, which affects the eye, skin, and hair, which is the most common type, and ocular albinism, which primarily affects only the eyes, with skin and hair often appearing similar to family members. So that was my impression initially, that there was just like these two types, but then there's subtypes within these types.
There are subtypes, and then there are also like more rare types that are associated with like different blood issues and clotting issues and things like that. But the main ones are the ones that you found. Yeah, the ocular, that is mainly the eyes, and then the OCA, which is the eyes, hair, and skin.
Thank you for that knowledge. That's incredible. And so,
Hmm.
something that I asked also when I was about to interview you, I was just kind of doing my own research because I had some
Hmm.
questions obviously before. I'm curious myself, and I wondered if vitiligo or vitiligo, however you pronounce it, was somehow within that same mutation,
I don't know.
right?
I'm not really sure. You got me on that one. I
Oh,
don't know.
right. So some of the research that I found, it was that it's actually different. And
Okay.
because what I found was that with albinism, the genetic markers are actually affecting melanin specifically, where that's not what it's specifically affecting in people with vitiligo or vitiligo.
Okay. I did not know that. Thank you for sharing
Yeah,
that.
that's just a little bit of research. I'm sure there's tons after aside from that, but if
Mhm.
viewers, watchers, and listeners are curious, let me know, and I'll get some of that research done and give you some answers from whatever I find. But other than that, what brought you on your incredible journey? What gets you passionate? Why are you passionate about albinism?
Why am I passionate about albinism? Where do I start there? Okay, so I think most of my life I was never really a part of the albinism community as such. It is a very small community. There are only about 400,000 people, roughly, depending on what continent you're on. Some continents there are more or less. So that's about 1 in 17 to 20,000 people. And the first time I saw a person with albinism. I was a child and I just have this vague memory of it. My parents introduced me to someone, and then that was kind of it until I was a teenager. And then I wanted to go to a conference. NOAA is the National Organization for Albinism and Hyperpigmentation. It's the organization in the United States. And it's only been around for about 50 years, I want to say. So it's not, it's quite new. And I think I was about 15 and I said, oh, I want to go and meet other people and get involved. And there was this massive snowstorm. I'm in Spain, but I'm originally from New York. And there was a massive snowstorm in New York and my parents didn't feel comfortable driving and we didn't go. And that was kind of it. And the amount of people that I've met with albinism in my life before I really started getting involved with the albinism community about a year ago, a handful. Very few. It's a pretty rare but cool thing when you run into someone
Sure,
someone
I can
else with
imagine.
albinism. Sometimes it's like my daughters will be walking down the street with me. I have two teenage daughters, and they'll be like, "Mommy, does that person have albinism?" And usually I can't see and I'm not going to stare at them, I'm like, I don't want to look,
Right, right.
but when you do find someone like, and you're both aware that it's like, hey, so it is pretty exciting. So about a year ago, I was meditating in front of this like really beautiful water fountain near where my daughter does crochet class. And I was sitting there and I was meditating, which I've been doing for about 10 years now. And oftentimes when I'm meditating, when there's like an idea sort of ping-ponging around in your head and you're just like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know.
Right.
Well, I had some ideas about what I wanted to do, but I wasn't sure. And then when you're meditating, like your mind has the space
Mhm.
to sort of solve things that are happening for you. And it just sort
Yes.
of came in front of me. It was like, oh my goodness, I have got to bring the benefits of mindfulness and now positive psychology that I'm fascinated by to
Okay.
the albinism community. And it just kind of became this crystal clear idea. Um, and ever since then, I've been involved in the community and been doing a lot of things in the last year, if I think about it. So it's basically to I know how amazing it has been for me and how much it's changed my life and it's transformed me from being someone who's surviving to someone who's thriving. And I really want to bring that to the community because I think talking about the well-being of people with albinism is a conversation that's in development, as I'd like to say. There's a lot of conversation about skincare and medical issues, and all of those things are monumentally important. But there is less conversation about the well-being of people with albinism and just the effect it has on your psyche and on how you kind of move through the world. And so I'm on a journey and on a mission to kind of bring what's helped me to help other people.
I love this. You said some things that are popping in my head right now. Right now, you're on a journey and on a mission. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna ask you this question kind of on a
Sure.
spiritual context here.
Hmm.
So when you were in your meditative state and you kind of had like this vision and basically telling you, showing you in many ways that educating people with mindfulness, people with albinism specifically, can bring them into, I guess, what I'm assuming is a better sense of self, which is what you've gained from this, correct?
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, do you feel that, and I'm also asking this because of my personal experiences with my health challenges.
Hmm.
I'm questioning, if you feel that this is your life purpose, and perhaps this is why you were born the way that you were born, to be able to show people that there's still fruitfulness and there's still love in life, given this condition.
I would say that this is part of my mission and part of what I'm doing.
Great.
Um, is it solely my purpose for being on the planet?
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't say so. I don't because
Okay.
I think there's so many things that we can
Interlayered.
do. I'm sorry?
Yeah. Interlayered. So many things you can do that I
Yeah,
love.
there are just so many things. I mean, this is, you know, it's like you see something and you can't unsee it. Well, this idea came to me, and now I'm like, I can't unsee it. I can't undo it. I can't not be a part of trying to make this happen. But I do believe in evolution and within your own lifespan, and I do believe
Sure.
that things come in the right moment and when they're supposed to come. So I'm very excited that I'm part of the community now and that I'm involved in everything. Um, but is it my lifelong purpose?
Right. It's your right now purpose.
It is my right now purpose, and it is a purpose that I feel really strongly about, and I don't see it, fading into the distance type of thing. Like I said, it's something that I
Sure.
feel very strongly about. But I am in like midlife transition. Instead of midlife crisis, I call it like a midlife calling.
I
And
love that.
yeah, and this is kind of part of the calling is I'm now in a place where I feel stable and strong and ready and where I'm flourishing. And now I want to be able to bring that to other people because there is, not to be, dark and doom and gloom, um, but having a visible difference like this and being legally blind and all of those things, it does come with a lot of challenges and a lot of difficult times. And I feel like if I had access, if I had known back then and had all the ways and practices that I have now, that it would have been a different experience for me. I didn't discover all of this until, about 10 years ago. And so that was well into adulthood. And my feeling is if I had been able to practice mindfulness, both informal and, formally and informally practicing, but my life would have been very different, I think. And
Yeah.
so I really think if you can alleviate even just 5% of suffering for people somewhere along the way, then it gives people, just a better chance of having a better quality of life.
Absolutely, definitely. I can feel and I can see that there's been a lot of challenges with this genetic variant, with with being a person with albinism. Can you take
Mhm.
us, kind of just take us through some of your day-to-day challenges?
So day-to-day challenges mainly well, they're all day they're all day every day actually. It's mainly to do with light. My eyes are very, very sensitive to light, so I am constantly looking for ways to adjust lighting. So for me, I walk into a room, for example, I give a mindfulness class at the Association for the Blind here in Madrid, and I was there this afternoon. And I walked into the room and I turned on the lights, and it's like, whoa, they're really, really bright. And in this case, since I'm the one giving the session, I was able to, and it's a mindfulness session as well. So I dimmed the lights. And so, but there are many times when I'm in rooms or in a shop, in a store, in the shopping center, and I don't have control over the lighting. And it's a lot of light, and that creates like it's like a washed out effect so that you can't see very well. So lighting is an issue. Not being able to control the lighting when you're in most environments that are outside of your own home. Low vision. Like the other day I was on the train, and the lights from inside the train reflect right on where it says the stop of the train, and I was going to a new place, and so I'm doing this and going here. And so what I ended up doing was, just as the train was pulling in, I quickly take a picture of the stop and then zoom and think, okay, am I in the right place? And then zoom out. So it's kind of things like that. But there's so much technology now that it makes, compared to when I was a child, things are a lot easier. So yeah, lighting, low vision, eye strain, a lot of eye strain if you're on the computer a lot, which I think most people have anyway.
Sure.
And then skin. So I have to be very careful with keeping, with wearing sunscreen every day of the year, sun, rain, wind, whatever's happening. And I live in Spain. It's a very sunny, sunny,
Mm.
sunny country. So yeah, I need to be careful with the skin, use lots of sunscreen, try to stay out of the sun, stay in the shade as much as possible in the summer months, especially. And those are the physical things. Then there's the
Sure.
the other side of it, which I'm not sure if you want to go into that here or
Oh, we can go into all sides of it. Yeah, definitely.
right.
I'm
So,
Yeah, go ahead. Well, I had a question about the sun part, because
uh-huh.
I was reading that you have to be at least at SPF 30 and above, and wearing
Hmm.
protective clothing, sunglasses to prevent sunburn, and also skin cancers. And I'm just wondering
Hmm.
if maybe the probability of skin cancer is higher on pe in people with albinism because of the fact that
Hmm.
they don't have, or you don't have the protective layer of melanin to help guard against some of the powerful sun rays.
Exactly. Yes, that is correct. We have a much, much higher rate of getting skin cancer. In fact, I have a scar on my face here, which is right in the like in the crease of my smile line. So sometimes people say that they don't even see it, but I have a scar here from skin cancer. And if people do see it, I like to say I got in a bar fight. So
No
where's that scar from? I said I got in a bar fight, and you should see the other guy, you know.
Yeah. And so I'm wondering also if you have to take, and you don't have to answer this if it's too intrusive, but I'm just wondering if you have to take vitamins, because a lot of our vitamins such as vitamin D and other things
Hmm.
that we or that the sun's rays are resourceful. Aside from the harmful rays, there's a lot of
Right.
benefit to the sun, and I'm wondering if you have to do anything like that.
I don't generally I take iron just because I have low iron. But I think as long as you're getting like 15, 20 minutes of like quality light and sun a day,
Okay.
then you're kind of okay. And whenever I've had blood work done, I've never been told that I have low vitamin D. So
Oh,
I think I'm
great.
okay. Yeah.
And so you were going to get into something a little deeper aside from the having to protect your skin and some of the things that you go
Hmm.
through with your eyes. What are some of the other
Yeah.
things or that people with albinism and yourself go through?
I think I think a lot of it comes from like the social stigma side is what I want to talk about. I think when people don't understand something, it immediately brings up a sense of fear in them.
Hmm.
Because when we don't understand something, it's like you feel threatened, you don't know what's happening, your mind is
Right.
trying to make sense of what's going on, and not understanding something feels like a threat. And this is something that I'm trying to teach in schools as well, is just to teach that difference doesn't necessarily mean threatening. And
Right.
why do I think this is why do I think
Exactly.
this is so, but does that make sense to you? Does that resonate with you?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think most, well, everyone I know who has albinism and videos you watch and my own lived experience, um, I have through my entire life to this day, which I always thought as an adult this wouldn't be part of my life anymore. But growing up, there was a lot of bullying and a lot of exclusion. And for me, I think exclusion is actually worse than the name calling because exclusion, I mean, we are social creatures and we want to be part of a pack. And when you are exiled or excluded from the pack, that's dangerous because then
Mhm.
you're no longer protected by the group anymore and
Mhm.
you're left out to perish in the back in
Right.
the day when we lived in caves and things like that. But that's deeply ingrained in who we are. And so for me, the exclusion was a safety issue for me and constantly having my guard up and feeling unsafe all the time. And then there's the other side of it, of just being, name calling and being called the devil's child because I had red eyes and like just all kinds of things being stared at all the time. And that happens a lot. And now I don't even notice it anymore. I don't pay attention to it most of the time. But some days you just don't feel like it. Some
Mm.
days I can engage with people, and if they're looking at me, I can look over and say, "Hey, how's it going?" If it's a child, I especially engage with them and smile and friendly. And I think the way people with albinism are depicted in literature and film and TV is quite negative. We're generally depicted as being like devils or evil or the villain, and so I know people who are trying to change that as well. And so when I come across people that are staring at me inquisitively and I'm feeling strong and open to it, then I'm more than happy to have conversation so that I can educate people. But sometimes you just don't feel like it. And you can get a vibe from someone when they're really having a good look at you, like really staring at you.
Right.
I read
Right.
with a magnifying glass, so I might have my phone or a book, and I'm reading like this, and there's someone like, and I'll let them look, and I go, okay, you've had a look now, you can just move on. So things like that, and then yeah, just accommodations at work and um, going down the stairs because I have very poor depth perception. So, sometimes just have to kind of go a bit slower going down the steps. And so there's a lot. It's actually, there's quite a lot going on all day, every day, even though people adapt quite well. And I think as humans, we adapt really well to our circumstances. But yeah,
Oh yeah.
there is a lot going on.
Thank you for sharing all that. And
Mhm.
so, some of the questions that were brewing up in me, I'm wondering, what are some, aside from people's negative views or portraying some people with albinism as villains and stuff in movies, I'm wondering what are some other misconceptions or myths that people have about people with albinism?
Oh, okay. Well, this is a deep question because it depends on what area of the world you're in.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So, in especially sub-Saharan Africa and Africa in general, but in mostly in sub-Saharan Africa, there is an enormous crisis going on. There's been an upswing in it recently, actually, as well, because there is a lot of belief that um having body parts of people with albinism will bring you luck. Having relations with a woman with albinism will cure certain diseases. That if a woman who's married has a child with albinism, that she cheated on her husband. So yeah, those are some really some of the really difficult,
Mhm.
yeah, misconceptions that
And
people have.
that makes sense, especially if people aren't aware that it's a genetic, it's an issue with a genetic
Genetic
variant, right?
condition.
It's a
Yeah.
genetic condition, and which means it can affect any race in
Yeah.
any ethnicity anywhere in the world.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so if people aren't educated, and which is I'm so incredibly grateful that you're doing this for yourself and for humanity to educate people on this. The more educated people are, the less myths and less misconceptions people are going to have, and then the less discrimination, the less pain and suffering people with albinism will experience.
You said it. That is the upward spiral that we're going for. Yeah, so that people understand. And then on the lighter side of things, I think there's just, people don't understand the eye movement, and when when I'm looking at someone, my head might tilt a certain way because one eye is stronger, and I might be squinting, or sometimes there are like social cues that I might miss, or someone might be, it's like calling me from the other side of the restaurant or the cafeteria at school, and I will walk right past them and they think that you're being rude. And it's not that I'm being rude. So I've actually come to start, well, this is years ago now. I started saying to people, hey, listen, it's great to meet you. If you ever see me in the neighborhood or wherever and I don't see you, I don't wave to you, it's not because I'm being rude. And so I
Good.
think people appreciate
Oh yeah,
that
absolutely.
kind of honesty, and but that takes time and maturity to get to that. When you're a teenager, you're not going to say that, but as an adult, you
Right.
can. When your confidence is much more developed, you can say that. But for children and teenagers growing up, there's a lot happening for them.
So that brings me to ask you, what kind of advice would you give somebody with albinism that isn't a teenager, or younger, that has gone through that and they don't have the confidence yet to tell people, hey, if I'm looking around, that's because, I can't
Hmm.
really see too clearly. So don't try not to take it personal, but I'm still here. So what kind of advice can you give somebody that's doesn't have that confidence yet?
Practice mindfulness. And know your character strengths, and
Okay.
practice the combination of mindfulness and positive psychology. For me, is just, it is my passion, and it is really the resource that I go to for daily everything. And it's not to say that I don't have bad times in my life, or bad days, or moments when I'm
Sure.
stressed, or moments when I can't self-regulate it. I'm not saying that at all. It's not like if you start practicing mindfulness and meditation, and that your life's problems will be solved. It's not about that. But it does give you an entire suitcase, a myriad of resources that you can go to, so that you can show up in the world and be more confident and be more have more self-compassion and compassion for others. So I find when other people are staring and other people are saying things and they're
Sure.
talking about me and going, oh, look at her, look at how ugly she is. And you know, that is when I really kick into compassion mode for that person. And it helps
Right.
me to think that that's their problem. That's not about me. That's their ignorance. That's their lack of understanding. And I don't take it personally. And all of that comes from years and years of reading and practicing and listening and watching. And, and yeah, I think that's what helps me on a daily basis get through things. So my advice would would be to start. How does that expression go? When was the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago or today?
Yeah, right. Today, right now.
So start. I just recently started teaching a mindfulness course online to adults who have lost their vision in adult life, at an association. I don't know. Can I say an association name, or better not to?
Sure. Sure.
An association called I Matter in the UK.
Okay,
I
great.
as in your eyes, and
I
I as in I. I started teaching the course we're on session 7, so about 7 weeks ago. And the response has been like overwhelmingly positive, and people are really noticing just in such a short time, 7 weeks. I mean, the MBSR course is an 8-week course. The John Kabat-Zinn course that he developed, mindfulness-based stress reduction, is an 8-week course. And I think that's when people really start to see a difference. So in
Mhm.
7 weeks, people are already the attendees. There's about 20 of us, I think, in the group. And these are people going through, not necessarily with albinism. This isn't an albinism group as such, but they're adults who are going through vision loss or who have already lost their vision. And the feedback I'm getting is, it's so heartwarming. It really does just make me smile like inside and out, because just knowing that passing this along is helping people get through such a difficult challenging time in their life. It's so rewarding, and I'm humbled by it. I really am. I'm just so grateful for the opportunity.
What kind of feedback are you getting?
Feedback in the sense of that people are really now being able to apply the things that we're learning. They're thinking about the things that we're talking about. They're meditating every day, because I give the session and then I send home like a reflection for the week, daily reflections and journaling and questions and prompts. And then I record separately the meditation that I've done after kind of doing a little bit of theory input. And then we do two different types of meditations. So I record them and then send them those meditations. And so they're listening to the meditations every day. They're noticing things. And a meditation, or mindfulness rather, is all about awareness anyway. So
Yeah,
people are starting to become aware. They're waking up to noticing and accepting and practicing and moving through difficult moments. And they're having skills to do that. So it's just really is. So I'm so thrilled to be able to be doing this.
that's really beautiful, Laura. Thanks for sharing. So I'm curious, how did you get into mindfulness? Because for people that have been, going through life and later in life or somewhere midlife or maybe even the beginning
Mhm.
of life, they discover mindfulness somehow through a friend or through curiosity. But it just seems like people are not born practicing it, but we end up developing this practice because of something. Not always, but sometimes I've
Mhm.
seen it done this way, that it's happened this way. So what led you towards mindfulness? And also, what did you think mindfulness was first and when you first started it, and what is it to you now?
Okay, so two separate questions. If I
Yeah.
forget to answer the second one, just keep
Sorry about that.
bring me back. No, that's okay. I think
Right.
I got it, but just in case I get sidetracked.
Yeah.
So mindfulness came to me in a very strange, funny way. I mean, I think I kind of at university when I was about 20, 21, I started meditating a little bit. When you're experimenting, I was vegetarian for a while, and all these things when you're just kind of coming into your adulthood, you're trying yourself on. But I thought that I was doing a bad job because I couldn't turn off my thinking and I couldn't stop my mind.
Hmm.
And so I stopped. And I was like, well, this obviously I'm not doing this right. I can't do it. And so I moved on. And that was it for quite some time until my daughter, it's about 10 years ago, my daughter was about 3 years old. And one like very, very hot Spanish summer night, I went into her room to go and help her get ready for bed. And she just shouted at me and she said, Mommy, no, you know. And there was this feeling that came over me that things had been not going great at home and there was behavior management things happening. And like just in that moment, the tone in her voice and the way it hit me, I said, we have to do something here. We have to do something. Like she's suffering, I'm suffering, the whole house is suffering. And so I started, as any mother looking for solutions. I was Googling and this and that and looking for things. I took her to a therapist, traditional therapist, and the therapist helped us kind of redirect her behavior. So the quote unquote bad behavior wasn't happening. Um, and so we were able to put out the flames, as it were, but I really wanted to know where the fire was coming from, because
Hmm.
changing behavior doesn't mean that you're changing what's going on inside. You're
Right.
just kind of tricking someone,
That's
and that's
true,
what we were
right?
doing. Yeah. And I thought, okay, fine, we're alleviating a little bit of the pressure at the moment, but there's something below this. And so, like I said, I started looking online. And I came across a course called The Foundations of Well-Being by Rick Hansen, and I started doing that. And then that was the beginning of the beginning for me. So I found it because I was looking to help her, but I really realized that I was the one that needed it because I was trying to go and regulate her when I realized I wasn't able to regulate myself.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And it was within the dysregulation that you were experiencing that was having a ricocheting effect, a ripple effect
Hmm.
that was affecting her.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So
That's
that
really
was the,
powerful.
yeah, that was the beginning of the beginning. And we still practice together today. She's 12 now and
Wow.
yeah, we still meditate and we do a gratitude practice a night before bed and we do the three good things that happen to us throughout the day. And they're wonderful windows into her life. The wonderful conversations that we have that I wouldn't have had with her, if we didn't have this practice of talking about, so all right, what are three things that good that happened to you today? Or what are three ways you helped other people today? And through those conversations, I get, like I said, a window into her world that I wouldn't if we didn't have these practices.
What a beautiful connection.
It is really nice. My other daughter is not interested at all, but she's quite zen by nature. But yeah, the younger one is very she enjoys it. We enjoy it together. There was a second part of your question. Was it what was mindfulness to me then, and what is it now? Is that what you
You
asked
got
me?
it. Hmm.
Okay, good. I remember. So I think years and years ago at university, when I was like experimenting with it, I went through this like, hippie phase, the Grateful Dead and all of that. And yeah, I kind of tried it on. And like I said, I didn't feel like I was successful, which is a misconception. That is something that whenever I'm guiding sessions, I talk about a lot right at the very beginning, because I think people give up on meditation and on mindfulness because they think they're not good at it.
They do, right?
Because they think, I can't quiet my brain. I can't stop my thinking. Like, I'm just going to not do it. So
Mhm.
for me, I was very much, in that camp of having that misconception of like, I'm doing this wrong, so I'm not going to do it. And now, to me, it is the gateway to freedom and to flourishing and to joy and to experiencing connection, and acceptance and all of the things. And now
How did you?
teaching it is just so rewarding. So it's been quite a journey from going from thinking I'm not good at it, leaving it, coming back to it, reading about it, practicing it. I'm in the phase of still learning. I mean, of course, I'm never going to stop learning about it. But teaching it is really, I'm actually learning so much from teaching it, especially in the
Oh, yeah.
communities where I'm in.
How did you realize that there's really no right way to be mindful?
I'm saying teaching, but I should really say guiding. I don't know if I like the word teacher because for 25 years I was a teacher, so I just think I have that word
That
kind
word.
of
So
in my
more of a
head.
being a mindfulness guide. That sounds excellent, actually. A guide, a mindfulness guide. Being a
Mindfulness guide,
mindfulness
yeah,
guide and having guidance towards others with mindfulness has allowed you
mhm.
to see that there's no one size fits all.
Absolutely. There is no one size fits all. Yeah, what you asked me a question right before that about what was it about how are you not bad at mindfulness, or what was it you said?
Yeah, so initially you felt when you were got into the Grateful Dead and stuff, you thought that there was a right way to meditate, and I guess in a way you
Okay.
judged yourself and you're like, well, I can't
Hmm.
do this. When did you
Hmm.
realize you can do this?
So the second time around, after I found it, I was older and started meditating and doing a lot more guided meditations. And I think I had good teachers. I think I had good guides that really explained to me that, it's not about turning your mind off and stopping your thoughts. Our mind is designed to think, it's designed to protect us, and thinking is
Yeah.
protecting us. And because we have to plan, and it's nice to remember, and all of those things are happening. And so for me, it's not about trying to stop those things, but changing your relationship with your thoughts,
Hmm.
lowering the volume sometimes on your thoughts, because wow, it can get really loud in there. you know?
Yeah.
It can get really loud in there. And so when we kind of change our relationship with our thoughts, we let them kind of come and go, realize when thoughts are not pushing the needle forward, they're not being helpful and going, right, is that helpful for me to be thinking, what an idiot I am because I knocked over a cup of tea? Well, no, it's not.
Right.
And so instead of going down a
Mhm.
rabbit hole of how clumsy I am, I will just let that go.
Right.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I think it's about changing your relationship with your thoughts, not trying to stop them.
I love that. So it's not really about staying quiet or being in the silence, but really changing your relationship with your thoughts and even questioning where some of your thoughts come from and whether some of your thoughts are even true.
Well, you hit it. Are they true? They're just mental events. So they're
Right,
really
exactly. Well, this is really awesome. We're here with Laura Brody, and she's the founder of Adventures in Albinism and creator of the Teacher's Compass, which is two mindfulness-based initiatives supporting individuals with albinism, as well as the parents and teachers who guide them. What can you tell us about the Teacher's Compass that you've created?
So the Teacher's Compass is a membership group that and a community to bring teachers of children with albinism who are
Mhm.
dispersed, because like we said before, it's we are all over the world. And I wanted to create a home where teachers could come together, have a place where they could commune, get advice from each other, the good, the bad, and the ugly, what's working for me, what's not working. And so, yeah, so they have a place to come together because a teacher might be presented with a child with albinism and, might not even had known like what albinism was before that child came in the room. There's no
Right.
training for teachers with albinism. There's nothing, it doesn't come up in your teacher training. So, you can Google your life away. You can go to your TVI, which is a teacher of visually impaired kids, but oftentimes they have huge caseloads and they might only see a child for 1 hour a week. So the idea is to bring teachers together, provide a space where they can learn from each other, provide a space where they have access to me, where we can talk about things and training and resources. There's also a well-being course for teachers themselves, because I think the well-being of teachers is so unfortunately highly sorely overlooked. And so I've put on there an 8-week mindfulness. It's not an MBSR course as such, but it is a mindfulness based course, so that teachers can go through half an hour a week of a short lesson and then be introduced to mindfulness so that they can take care of themselves, because a regulated teacher will have a regulated student in class.
I love that. A regulated teacher will have a regulated student in class. I absolutely love that. Thanks for saying that. Absolutely agree with you on that. Definitely
That
hits
is
the
the
mark.
hope.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And so, for listeners who are navigating trauma, identity shifts, or life transitions, especially those living with visible or invisible differences, what has helped you move forward with a little less fear?
So I think for me, a few things. Self-compassion has been a game changer for me. Being in the limelight all the time and having people stare at you all the time and make comments at you all the time, like that really does become a part of who you are. Um, Whether you like it or not, it's just all the negativity and it stays in there. And I think I became, I think I was very hard on myself, and then hard, like very, I don't want to say antisocial because I am an extremely social person, extremely talkative. I love to be out there, but very guarded,
Mhm.
very like protecting my space. And finding self-compassion has broken all of those walls down. I'm not guarded. I trust people. Um, I think when you're hard on yourself, you're also hard on other people.
Of course.
And
Oh,
you're
yeah.
not, yeah, you're not forgiving of other people, and the slightest
Mhm.
thing, that's it, you write them off. And then, so self-compassion for me has been absolutely, it has saved my life because I can be kind to myself. I can recognize my suffering. I can be aware that I'm even suffering in the first place. You know, all the components of self-compassion are at play there. I can recognize when I'm having a hard time. Um, and I'm just easier on myself and
Mhm.
on the suffering. And I don't want to say that I don't want to come across like I don't have a wonderful life. I live a very rich life. I've traveled. I've lived in 4 different countries. I've done so. My parents always say to me, like, you've lived more than most people we know that don't have the issues that you have. You've just
That's
gone out
beautiful.
there and like just done it, to the extent that, some people would never do. So I don't want to paint a picture like I don't, like it's all dark and I'm sure, as you know, like people have many many layers and many facets to themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So to your question, I would say for anyone going through any kind of trauma, practice self-compassion. Start there. Start small, micro moments, micro goals that are achievable so that um, you're not setting this like enormous goal of I'm going to change everything, because it just doesn't happen that way. It's
Right.
small, small steps over time that are successful, so that it's like it feeds into itself. The more these small the things that I achieve will then give me more confidence to go and achieve more and go and try more. And then this just slowly opens out. And then you
Slowly
can you can
branches
have
out.
an yeah, you can have a more open heart. Because I think when you're going through trauma and you're struggling, your heart is very closed. Um your heart and your
Oh yeah.
mind and your eyes and everything. And when you start to practice self-compassion, you can begin to soften and soothe and let go and release. And in doing that, you leaving space to let in.
That's really beautiful and really well said. Thank you. So I know this is a loaded question, but I'm just curious for somebody if they're listening to this for the first time and let's say that they're in a rut, they're not feeling their best, and they're
hmm
hearing the word self-compassion. Such I know this is a loaded question, but what's one way somebody can be self-compassionate?
hmm One way, just one way. Okay, the first thing that came from mind for me to mind for me is self-talk. So self-talk is the words, simply put, is the words we say to ourselves in our head, and they are extremely important. How we talk to ourselves can, the words we use, the words we choose to use can bring you way up or bring you way down.
All
And
right. Mhm.
I think oftentimes people are not even aware, going back to awareness, which is the base of mindfulness, right? We're not
Right.
even aware of what we're saying.
That's
So,
true.
step one is just becoming aware of what kind of words am I using to say to myself. So, I think for me, I didn't even realize how much negative self-talk I had. And so I think that is a good place to start, is take a look at your self-talk, and then you can see it coming from much further away as you practice, like because
Then you can
the
actually
voice.
become an observer as it comes
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, exactly. So I can hear that voice coming because it's there to protect you. That's, it's the only reason we are so negative with ourselves. We want to protect ourselves. And so when you're trained and you practice, I think you can start to hear that voice coming from really far away. And you can say, no thanks. I've got
Mhm.
this. I appreciate you being there and I know what you're trying to do, but I don't need it. So yeah, being self-compassionate in your language to yourself, I think, is an excellent place to start.
That is excellent advice. Thank you so much. Well, Laura, thank you so much for being on a Little Less Fear podcast and educating us on albinism and your incredible life journey and everything that you've gone through.
Mhm.
Where can our viewers, our watchers, and our listeners find you if they need to get a hold of you?
On all of the regular social media, I've got my website, adventuresinalbinism.com. If you do go there, please do download. There are some free resources there. And there are also some surveys that I'm conducting, doing research for
Oh,
parents
great.
and people with albinism and teachers. So yeah, if you'd like to be a part of the conversation there, you can go and check out those resources. And then there's the Teacher's Compass. And I'm on LinkedIn, sometimes on Facebook. So yeah, I'm on Instagram. I'm around.
Awesome, Lori. Thank you so much. And so I wrote a poem. I've been writing poetry since I was a kid, and I wrote a poem dedicated to this episode, and I'd like to
Oh,
share it with you.
brilliant. Oh, amazing.
Okay, so here it goes. It's titled If You See Me Smiling Today. If you see me smiling today, I've come a long way. To be able to stand tall, to be able to speak up, and to be able to be seen, I've come a long way. If you see my smile today, I gift you with a warm gesture, no pressure, and a hug from my heart to yours, but it wasn't always this way. If I smile today, it's because I finally found me, and in me I see you too, and there's not much more that's true. Today I smile and stay here just a little while longer. And that's it. And I dedicate that to you and our episode and the energy that we brought forth together for the sake of love and bringing people together.
I love that. That is such a beautiful poem. I see myself in you. And that is such a beautiful sentiment of connection that we all need to see ourselves in each other and feel connected. Thank you so much. That was really beautiful.
Well, you're welcome, and thank you so much for saying that because I mean, the light that exists in me is the light that exists in you, correct?
It is indeed.
Laura Brody, everybody here on a Little Less Fear podcast. Looking forward to staying in touch with you. Wishing you and your loved ones love and light. Yeah, have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
The pleasure is mine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to a Little Less Fear podcast. If you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Tell your friends and your family about a Little Less Fear podcast. And if you are interested in being on my show, feel free to leave me an email at a little less fear at gmail.com. Or if you have any questions or comments and you also want to leave me an additional message, you can also do so from my website, leaving an inquiry at www.alittlelessfear.com. You can get a copy of my book on Amazon, Amazon Kindle, and Amazon Kindle Unlimited, also titled A Little Less Fear. And thank you so much, everybody. I really appreciate all the support. Leave me a review if you get a chance. I love to receive feedback, questions, and comments. And any way that I can be of support to you, please let me know. Thank you so much. I love you. Wishing you love, light, happiness, and many blessings your way.
Thank you.